Stop everything you're doing right now and think about this. That person who always knows exactly what to say when you're falling apart, who somehow shows up with coffee right when you need it most? What if I told you they're not just being nice? What if they're actually running a full psychological profile on you in their head, predicting your next breakdown before it happens, and carrying around emotional baggage that isn't even theirs? Here's the truth that'll give you chills. INFJs are basically walking lie detectors, fortune tellers, and emotional sponges all rolled into one person. And the scariest part? They're hiding it from you on purpose. We're talking about the unicorns of the personality world here. Only 1 in 50 people are INFJs, and they're keeping secrets so mind-bending that if you knew what was really happening behind those understanding eyes, you'd never look at them the same way again. Picture this. Your INFJ friend is sitting across from you, nodding sympathetically as you vent. But inside their head, they've already figured out that you're going to quit your job within 3 months, that your relationship is heading for trouble, and they've mapped out exactly how they're going to support you through it. But they'll never tell you they saw it coming. So buckle up, because we're about to expose the 8 deepest, darkest secrets that INFJs will never, ever tell you. And I'm warning you right now, secret number 4 is going to make you question every friendship you've ever had with an INFJ. 1. They're constantly analyzing every word you say. Let's start with something that might make you think twice about your conversations with INFJs. When you're chatting with them, you probably think they're just listening and responding naturally. But here's what's really happening behind those thoughtful eyes. They're running a full-scale analysis of everything you say. Every word, every pause, every slight change in your tone gets filed away and examined. They're not doing this to be nosy or judgmental. It's just how their minds work. They can't help but notice when you say, "I'm fine," but your voice drops slightly, or when you mention your job with just a hint of frustration. What they'll never tell you is that they've probably figured out you're having relationship problems before you've even admitted it to yourself. They've picked up on the subtle changes in how you talk about your partner, noticed the way you avoid certain topics, and connected dots you didn't even know existed. This constant analysis isn't something they can turn off. It's like having a supercomputer running in the background of every conversation. They're simultaneously engaging with what you're saying while their brain is busy categorizing, connecting, and predicting patterns in your behavior. The crazy part? They're usually right. Their intuitive insights about people are scarily accurate. But they've learned to keep these observations to themselves because, let's face it, nobody wants to hear that their personality has been decoded and filed away in someone's mental database. 2. They practice conversations in their head before they happen. Here's something that would probably blow your mind. INFJs rehearse conversations before they happen. Not just important ones like job interviews or difficult discussions, but everyday chats too. They're literally running through potential dialogue trees in their minds like they're preparing for a performance. Before calling to make a simple appointment, they've already mapped out 3 different conversation paths depending on how the receptionist responds. Before asking their boss for time off, they've rehearsed every possible objection and prepared counterarguments. Before bringing up that thing that's been bothering them with their partner, they've practiced the conversation so many times they could probably recite it in their sleep. This mental rehearsal isn't about being fake or manipulative. It's about their deep need to communicate effectively and avoid misunderstandings. They've learned that their thoughts are complex and layered, and if they don't organize them beforehand, they might stumble over their words or forget important points. What's fascinating is that despite all this preparation, they're still incredibly authentic in their conversations. The rehearsal is just the framework. The actual emotions and genuine responses still come through naturally. It's like they're preparing the stage so their true self can perform without getting tangled up in their own complexity. They'll never tell you about this mental preparation because they worry it might make them seem calculating or insincere. But the truth is, it's just another way they show how much they care about connecting with people on a meaningful level. 3. They can predict how situations will unfold. INFJs have this almost supernatural ability to see how situations are going to play out before they actually happen. It's like they have a crystal ball tucked away in their intuitive toolkit. They can walk into a room and immediately sense the undercurrents of tension, predict who's going to clash with whom, and forecast how the whole evening is going to unfold. This predictive ability extends to bigger life situations too. They often know when someone's relationship is heading for trouble, when a friend is about to make a major life change, or when a workplace dynamic is shifting. They pick up on subtle cues that others miss. The way someone's energy changes, small shifts in behavior patterns, or the barely perceptible tensions that signal bigger changes ahead. What's really wild is how often they're right. They'll have a gut feeling about something and months later, it plays out exactly as they sensed it would. But here's the kicker. They rarely share these predictions because they've learned that people don't want to hear them. Imagine trying to warn someone that their new relationship isn't going to work out when they're head over heels in love. Or suggesting that a friend's new job opportunity might not be as great as it seems when they're excited about the possibility. These conversations rarely go well, and INFJs have learned to keep their predictions to themselves. Instead, they become the person who's mysteriously unsurprised when things unfold exactly as they sensed they would. They're the friend who somehow always seems prepared for life's curveballs, not because they're pessimistic, but because they saw them coming from miles away. For they need way more alone time than they admit. If you know an INFJ, you've probably noticed they sometimes disappear for a while. They'll be socially active and engaged, and then suddenly they're nowhere to be found. They're not being rude or antisocial. They're desperately trying to recharge their batteries without making everyone else feel bad about it. Here's what they'll never tell you: they need alone time like other people need air. Social interactions, even with people they love, drain their energy reserves faster than a phone with a dying battery. Every conversation, every social gathering, every moment of being around others requires them to give a piece of themselves. The problem is they genuinely care about people and don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So instead of saying, "I need to disappear for 3 days to process all the human interaction I've had this week," they'll make polite excuses. They'll say they're busy with work, feeling under the weather, or have family obligations. What they're really doing is hiding in their sanctuary, processing all the emotions and interactions they've absorbed, and slowly rebuilding their energy reserves. They might spend hours in complete silence, read books, listen to music, or just sit with their thoughts. This isn't depression or antisocial behavior. It's essential maintenance. The really challenging part for INFJs is that they often feel guilty about needing this time. They worry that people will think they're being flaky or that they don't value their relationships. But the truth is, this alone time is what allows them to be fully present and engaged when they are with others. 5. They feel responsible for everyone's emotions. Here's something that might surprise you about INFJs. They carry the weight of everyone else's emotions on their shoulders, and they do it without anyone asking them to. It's like they have an invisible emotional radar that picks up on everyone's feelings within a 10-mile radius. When their friend is sad, they feel that sadness as if it's their own. When their coworker is stressed, they absorb that stress and start brainstorming solutions. When a family member is angry, they feel compelled to fix whatever's wrong, even if it has nothing to do with them. This emotional absorption happens automatically. They don't choose to take on other people's feelings, it just happens. They walk into a room and immediately tune into the emotional climate like a human barometer. If someone's upset, they feel it in their bones. If there's tension in the air, it becomes their tension too. What they'll never tell you is how exhausting this can be. Imagine feeling responsible for the emotional well-being of everyone you encounter. Imagine carrying around not just your own worries and stresses, but everyone else's too. It's like being an emotional pack mule, constantly loaded down with feelings that aren't even yours. They also won't tell you how often they sacrifice their own emotional needs to take care of others. They'll put their own problems on the back burner to help someone else work through theirs. They'll absorb negative emotions from others and then spend hours processing them alone, trying to transform them into something more positive. 6. They have a rich inner fantasy world. INFJs have incredibly vivid and complex inner worlds that they rarely share with anyone. While you see them going about their daily lives, inside their minds, they're living entire alternate realities. They're not just daydreaming, they're creating detailed, elaborate scenarios that are often more engaging than whatever's happening in the real world. These internal worlds might include detailed fantasies about their future, imaginary conversations with people they admire, or complete storylines about how they'd handle various situations. They might spend hours mentally redesigning their living space, planning out their dream career, or imagining how they'd change the world if they had unlimited resources. What's really fascinating is how real these inner experiences feel to them. They're not just casual thoughts. They're immersive experiences complete with emotions, sensations, and detailed visuals. They might have entire relationships with fictional characters, feel genuine excitement about imaginary achievements, or experience real emotions about scenarios that exist only in their minds. This rich inner life is both a blessing and a curse. It provides them with incredible creativity, helps them process complex emotions, and gives them a safe space to explore ideas and possibilities. But it can also make the real world feel flat and disappointing by comparison. They'll never tell you about these inner worlds because they worry people will think they're living in a fantasy or not grounded in reality. But the truth is, this mental creativity is one of their greatest strengths. It's where their innovative ideas are born, where they process complex emotions, and where they find the inspiration to make positive changes in the real world. 7. They remember every detail of important conversations. INFJs have memories like steel traps when it comes to meaningful conversations. They don't just remember what you said, they remember how you said it, what you were wearing, where you were sitting, and what the weather was like outside. Every significant interaction gets filed away with photographic precision. This isn't just about having a good memory. It's about how deeply they value authentic connection with others. When someone shares something important with them, they treat it like precious cargo. They remember not just the facts, but the emotions behind the words, the vulnerability it took to share, and the trust that was placed in them. What they'll never tell you is that they probably remember conversations better than you do. They remember that thing you mentioned 6 months ago that you've completely forgotten about. They remember the exact words you used when you were going through a difficult time. They remember the dreams you shared and the fears you admitted. This detailed memory can sometimes make things awkward for them. They might reference something you said months ago, only to realize you have no memory of the conversation. They've learned to be careful about what they bring up from past conversations because not everyone appreciates being reminded of things they've forgotten. But here's the beautiful part: they remember these details because they genuinely care. Every meaningful conversation becomes part of their understanding of who you are. They use these memories to better support you, to understand your patterns and preferences, and to show up for you in ways that matter. 8. They often know what you need before you do. The final secret that INFJs keep locked away is perhaps the most remarkable. They often understand what you need before you figured it out yourself. It's like they have a direct line to your subconscious needs and desires. They notice when you're stressed before you realize it yourself. They sense when you need space before you know you're feeling overwhelmed. They pick up on your need for encouragement before you've admitted you're struggling. It's not magic. It's a combination of their analytical nature, their emotional intelligence, and their deep care for the people in their lives. What's amazing is how they act on this knowledge. They'll show up with exactly what you need. Sometimes it's a listening ear, sometimes it's practical help, sometimes it's just their presence. They might bring you coffee on a day when you're running on empty, send you an encouraging text when you're doubting yourself, or give you space when you're feeling overwhelmed. They do this so naturally that you might not even notice it's happening. You might just think you have really good timing with each other or that they're naturally thoughtful. But the truth is they're constantly tuning into your needs and finding ways to meet them. What they'll never tell you is how much thought and energy goes into this. They're constantly processing information about your emotional state, your stress levels, your needs, and your patterns. They're like emotional meteorologists, always forecasting what kind of support you might need next. The hidden burden of being an INFJ. Understanding these 8 secrets gives us a glimpse into the complex inner world of INFJs. Behind their calm, understanding exterior lies a mind that's constantly working, analyzing, predicting, and caring. They carry emotional burdens that others don't even know exist, and they do it with a grace that makes it look effortless. But here's what makes INFJs truly special. Despite all this internal complexity, despite the emotional weight they carry, despite the secrets they keep, they continue to show up for others. They continue to care, to support, to understand, and to love with a depth that's rare in this world. Why INFJs keep these secrets? You might be wondering why INFJs keep all of this to themselves. Why don't they just share what they're thinking and feeling? The answer is complex, but it comes down to a few key factors. First, they've learned that not everyone wants to hear their insights. People often prefer to discover things for themselves, make their own mistakes, and come to their own conclusions. INFJs have learned that unsolicited advice or observations, even when they're accurate, aren't always welcome. Second, they worry about being misunderstood. Their thought processes are complex and layered, and they fear that sharing their inner workings might make them seem weird, overwhelming, or too intense. They've learned to keep their depth hidden to avoid making others uncomfortable. Third, they're natural givers who focus on others' needs before their own. They're more concerned with understanding and supporting others than with being understood themselves. They'd rather be the mystery than burden others with their complexity. How to better understand the INFJs in your life. If you have an INFJ in your life, understanding these secrets can help you appreciate them on a deeper level. Here are some ways to show them that you see and value their unique nature. Give them space when they need it without making them feel guilty about it. Understand that their disappearing acts aren't personal. They're necessary for their well-being. Pay attention to the small ways they show they care. Notice when they remember important details, when they check in on you at just the right moment, or when they seem to know exactly what you need. Create safe spaces for them to share their thoughts without judgment. Let them know that their insights are valuable and that you're interested in their perspective. respect their need for meaningful conversation. They're not interested in small talk, but they'll light up when you engage them in discussions about ideas, dreams, and deeper topics. The gift of understanding INFJs. INFJs are rare gems in a world that often values extroversion and surface-level interactions. They bring depth, insight, and genuine care to their relationships. Understanding their secrets doesn't diminish their mystery. It helps us appreciate the incredible complexity and beauty of their inner world. These 8 secrets reveal the hidden depths of INFJ personality, but they also show us something beautiful about human nature. They remind us that everyone has hidden depths, secret struggles, and inner worlds that are far more complex than what we see on the surface. Living as an INFJ in an extroverted world. One of the biggest challenges INFJs face is navigating a world that's often designed for extroverts. They're constantly adapting to social norms that don't fit their natural way of being. They learn to be social when they need solitude, to share when they prefer to listen, and to explain their insights when they'd rather let others discover things naturally. This adaptation takes enormous energy and can leave them feeling drained and misunderstood. They often feel like they're wearing a mask, playing a role that doesn't quite fit who they are inside. But they do it because they want to connect with others and contribute to the world around them. What they'll never tell you is how much they long to be understood for who they really are. They dream of relationships where they can share their insights without being judged, where their need for solitude is respected, and where their depth is appreciated rather than seen as too much. The protective walls INFJs build. Over time, many INFJs learn to build protective walls around their inner world. They've been hurt by sharing too much, overwhelmed by taking on others' emotions, or misunderstood when they've tried to help. These walls aren't meant to keep people out. They're meant to protect their sensitive souls from a world that can be harsh and overwhelming. Behind these walls, they continue to care deeply, analyze constantly, and feel everything intensely. But they've learned to be selective about who gets to see their true self. They reserve their deepest thoughts and feelings for the few people who have proven they can handle the intensity and complexity of the INFJ mind. Conclusion. The 8 secrets we've explored today give us a window into the fascinating world of INFJs. From their constant analysis of conversations to their rich inner fantasy worlds, from their emotional responsibility for others to their uncanny ability to predict outcomes, INFJs are truly remarkable individuals. These secrets aren't shared to expose or embarrass INFJs, but to help us understand and appreciate the incredible complexity of their minds and hearts. They carry burdens we can't see, possess insights we don't recognize, and offer gifts we don't always appreciate. If you're an INFJ watching this, know that your secrets are safe, your complexity is beautiful, and your way of being in the world is valuable. You don't have to carry everything alone, and you don't have to hide your true self to be loved and accepted. If you have an INFJ in your life, take a moment to appreciate the depth they bring to your relationship. Notice the small ways they show they care, respect their need for solitude, and create space for them to share their insights when they're ready. The world needs INFJs. Their insight, their compassion, their ability to see patterns and possibilities that others miss. Understanding these secrets helps us create a world where INFJs can thrive, where their gifts are valued, and where they feel free to be their authentic selves. Remember, everyone has hidden depths and secret struggles. The more we understand about different personality types, the more we can appreciate the beautiful complexity of human nature. INFJs remind us that still waters run deep, and that the most meaningful connections often happen when we take the time to understand what lies beneath the surface. So the next time you're with an INFJ, remember that there's so much more happening behind their calm exterior than meets the eye. They're not just listening to your words, they're reading between the lines, caring about your well-being, and probably understanding you better than you understand yourself. And that, my friends, is the beautiful mystery of the INFJ mind.